right, everybody. It is I, number 3, office bitch boy, volleyball coach, lazy dude, half-hearted runner, former skater, wannabe funny guy. I'm sure the quality of video looks much better because my phone finally took a crap on itself and ceased to work. And by that I mean it had been well overdue for getting replaced. And the family and I, we went camping at Lake Casitas, and I was going to bed listening to a podcast, and I woke up and it had died. So be it. That has happened before. But then when I got it back, then it said connect to iTunes, and couldn't do that, and it was just so old and cracked, and it was an iPhone 7, and the guy that helped me out at the Verizon store, super nice guy, but it took him a minute to even clock what model it was. It was so small and old. But luckily, my wife, unfortunately, she has endured much worse phone problems since then, but we were able to back up all my photos onto some thumb drives. Why we haven't been using the cloud is a mystery. Yes, I know we probably should have, and it made me think on the way over here how reliant we are on technology now, but I just don't quite trust it all the time, or I mean all of it fully to some extent. I still don't do direct deposit for my main job. I did do it back at school, and I still do get my 2 payments for coaching, like via direct deposit, but also it makes me feel there's too many instances for it just to break. At least if I have a check in my hands and then I deposit it, I have a better understanding that I personally had something to do with getting that money to the bank. But I know that I'm old school for wanting paper checks, and yeah, it takes a couple days for it to clear and it's not automatic, but yeah, I don't know when we all just decided to start trusting technology so much. And you know, this last couple weeks where my wife and I, both our phones crapped out on us, and then you're just kind of dead in the water. There's just so much stuff. My phone's still just kind of locked in that state, and I couldn't transfer any of my contacts or photos. But like I said, luckily most of mine got backed up onto some thumb drives and external hard drives that my wife has. Thank God I have a wife, because if it was just me, I would have just lost everything. I think mainly just because I'm lazy and I don't think about how important it is to just take those little steps, like, I don't know, using your iCloud, I guess is the correct way to say it. So now I'm gonna fiddle with that and try and figure it out. But yeah, I just took the time and I remembered my emails and passwords to get into this channel and my family channel. So I'm pretty stoked about that. I can still post some stuff and keep some memories alive. And you know, my family channel has, I want to say, just like a vast majority of all those cell phone videos I've accumulated over the years, and I started putting them up there on that channel just out of boredom when I had my finger surgery or when I had COVID. But I mean, now it's out there, and I can take them down, I guess, at some point if I want to. But also it made me remember we didn't have cell phones for a long time, and the only pictures you could really take were with those disposable cameras. And I remember when digital cameras came around, those were pretty awesome. But I don't even know where my digital camera is that I used to have. That'd be nice to find again. But it seems like we've put such a importance on photos and videos when we survived for long amounts of time without all that stuff. And it seemed like we were okay. But not to say that I wasn't pretty bummed when my phone crapped out that I didn't. But it was actually a good time for it to happen, because I was I was camping with my daughters and my wife. And my wife's phone had already crapped out by that time too, so we had one phone we had Melissa's work phone that she could call her mom, and we could use if we needed to. But so it was a perfect time to not be attached to our phones because we're out camping. Which, if you're gonna go camp in Lake Casitas, a couple of things you should. First of all, it was super fun. Looking back, at times there was moments where it was a little bit, just a lot, when you're just straight up tent camping. And, we didn't have all the bells and whistles. For a long time I've been camping, in RVs, and I don't remember the last time I was actually stayed in a tent, besides the weekend where we stayed in our tent in our backyard. But it was, we brought our own food and coolers. We had a tiny little hibachi that we used some charcoal coals to make some burgers and some glizzies with. And we just had a bunch of other stuff. But we definitely didn't starve, but we didn't have these incredible setups like I was seeing a lot of my neighbors in the camping areas do. So we were in Casitas in like the G area, which is just straight up tent camping pretty much. Although I saw some people with RVs and trailers and such, but for the most part there was a lot of people in these camping spaces. And it was like 3 days after 4th of July, so I guess maybe there was people that stayed for the whole week, but it was a party the entire time. We got there at 6:45 or so on a Friday night, and we got the tent up, and we played at there's a little playground about 200 yards from our site, and we played a little bit and ate a little bit, and then we went to sleep. And then in the morning we woke up and had some breakfast. But sleeping was kind of difficult because there was people drinking and listening to music and partying and cackling and talking and laughing at all hours of the night. I think I went to take a piss at like right before, maybe 10, then maybe 1, then 4. Then I had to take my first morning shit at about, I remember, 6:26, and every time I woke up I could hear people laughing or music being played. And really the one that was surprising was not surprising, because 6:30 is pretty normal for older people or people that work, but they were laughing and talking very loudly. And there was just, there's people still. We were walking to the water and coming back, and it was about 7:15. There was still a dude, with a beer in his hand, walking the opposite direction, and he looked like he hadn't been to sleep yet. But that's also part of camping, is you can drink, you can party the entire time until you can't. And the next night was maybe a little bit calmer, I think, as maybe the first night when people get there they go ham, and the second night maybe they just don't have the same stamina, like when you go to Vegas and you always go hard the first night, and the second night you just can't seem to replicate the same, probably because you stayed up almost all night. So but the next morning, so sleepy. I mean, I still slept pretty good, but it's just tough. I pee a lot, so I'm gonna get up and go use an outhouse or these bathrooms, and there's no sinks, so you couldn't wash your hands. You could wash your hands with little spigots that there was like one spigot between every like 2 or 3 campsites, so that's how you could wash your hands, but no sinks, which is kind of tough, I think, for girls. You can't just leak out, and I couldn't. There was like a little hill or ravine behind where our tent was, but there was people on both sides of us, and I felt anytime if I wanted to just go piss right there, they could just look out and see the old ding-a-ling. So it was packed. And then in the morning we went to, they have a little water park, which is a lazy river and like 5 slides and a little kiddie area with water. And the water was super cold, but the girls had fun, and they got to enjoy that. And I think the afternoon was maybe the most difficult to deal with, because there was no screens and no nothing, but we just played at the campsite. Then if they got too restless, then we'd go to the park and back to the campsite and back to the little playground area, park area, which was real close. And the kids made friends with other people, and I think they had a good time. And then we woke up, and Melissa, we didn't even have to say anything to each other. We were both ready to leave, so we pretty much just started breaking the tent down and getting everything cleaned up almost as soon as we woke up. And I think we were out of there by a quarter of 9, and we were back home by like 10 or so. Was on the way there on Friday. We cut a little traffic. Maybe it took us an hour and a half or something, but it was a ton of fun. A lot of work. Definitely tired. And Monday was here a lot sooner than we had expected, but that was kind of the first camping trip for the 2 little girls too, 4 and 2, which it still felt like maybe it was still a little bit young for them, but we brought a little mini toilet. It worked out. In retrospect, fun, but would like to be at a spot with a little more privacy. And one realization I really fell on after that weekend was I don't know if I necessarily like people. I think I know I like privacy. When I go past a house that has maybe like a gate or a fence that locks and closes off like the parking lot and the front compound from the rest of the street, like I like that. Like I love to go through Montecito or Hope Ranch and past houses that have, a little intercom with a gate that you have to like get permission to enter, and then I know the house is probably another hundreds of feet, if not maybe a quarter mile in there, and just the thought of just having all that privacy really, really turns me on. Now, I don't know. I'm okay with being by myself. I really don't have as many friends as I once did back in the day. Or I think I'm starting to understand that the friends that I did have, I miss those guys. And most of them moved out of town, and 1 or 2 are still here, but I have a hard time making time for that and legitimizing that those people actually want to hang out with me too. I kind of have been feeling like I'm a burden on some people's schedule. And I think maybe, I don't know, I just think perhaps I'm not as good at being friends as other people. Actually, I know I'm not. I'm sure I come across a little selfish, and I'd like to change that. But also, I find it difficult now as a parent with such little kids to feel like it's okay to go like hang out with your friends and not feel guilty about it. And I'm sure that'll get easier as time goes on, but like right now, it's still kind of hard. Not gonna lie. Perfect spot right here. But the nice thing is, like I said, I got a new phone, and the guy that helped me was super nice. And there's so much storage on this new guy. Whereas before the 7, I had 32 gigs of storage. That's it. And this new guy, the 14 Pro, I believe is what I ended up with, and like quadruple the amount of storage. I think I'm up at 128. So I wish I hadn't waited so long and my phone like crapped out. I wish I would have just been more proactive with it, but it is what it is now. And gosh, we're almost like halfway through the summer, and we're about to start girls practice in like 4 days, like here on Monday. And for me, usually when we start practicing, that's kind of marking the end-ish of summer. And today's the 19th of July, and I think summer started on June 8th or 9th or something, and it has just flown by, in my opinion. I've been working a lot of hours and just trying to make that money that we need for 5 people, and running a lot. And we went camping, and Skylar's gone to like 3 camps now. And Oakley went to her first camp, and Halster's been at her daycare a whole bunch. And I mean, it's been a pretty productive summer, in my opinion, thus far. It's been fun. We've been doing open gyms. I think we've done 4 or 5 open gyms on Mondays now. And just can't really excited about the girls season starting. And I've realized that I enjoy the beginning of the season and practice and the journey much more than all the end result of trying to put up a banner, which seems pretty normal, but we'll see. That's just what I've been thinking about.